It's getting some of the worst reviews of the year. Currently, it is at 6% on Rotten Tomatoes with critics and 50% or so with audiences. So that's not great either. Some are calling it the worst video game adaptation of all time. But hear me out. I don't think it's that bad. Let's talk about Borderlands. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film Borderlands. This features some heavy hitters, including Kevin Hart, Cate Blanchett, and Jack Black in a voice role. And look, this thing is getting trashed all over the place. You know, critics are really throwing this one under the bus. But, you know, it is hard to do a video game adaptation. It's been actually many decades of terrible ones before we really even have been starting to get some good ones lately. You had, you know, The Last of Us and Fallout on television. Movie-wise, you know, the Sonic the Hedgehog movies have been pretty solid. The Mario Brothers last year was fun. But look, you know, this is not a great movie, but it's an okay movie. I am surprised that everyone is hating on it this much. So, look, we'll get into the specifics here in just a second, but first let me welcome you back to Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We've got movie and TV reviews on the channel, and just about every day something new goes up. So there's always a lot to check out here on Dan Reviews It. With that in mind, please consider subscribing, click that like button, comment below, all that stuff, of course, helps the channel out. And check out my Letterboxd as well. That's a great website and a great app to track your film watching. You can rate movies, you can make lists, and all of that stuff. You can keep your film diary of all the movies you see. So you can check out my profile on Letterboxd in the description below. All right. So boy, oh boy, you know, I went to see this on premiere night, and at that point, I think it was at 3% on Rotten. So I'm not really knowing what to expect going in. But, you know, I took my nephew. He has played the games. He's not like an uber fan, but he's played the games enough to kind of know what's going on, so he sort of schooled me a little bit. But you know what? For the uninitiated, they really bring you up to speed, you know, pretty immediately. Cate Blanchett does a voiceover role as her character Lilith, and you know, explains everything that's going on in the world, and you know what this vault is that everybody seems to be after, and this and that and the other thing. So even if you've never heard of Borderlands as a video game, I don't think you'll be lost by the story. That's helpful. The basic premise here is Cate Blanchett plays this infamous outlaw returning to the place where she grew up, called Pandora, and forms an alliance with a team of misfits to find the missing daughter, played by Ariana Greenblatt. You may know her from Barbie. She was the daughter in that of America Ferrera. And the missing daughter of the most powerful man in the universe, played here by Edgar Ramirez. And then everybody else I mentioned is just kind of along for the ride. Jamie Lee Curtis appears in this as well in a supporting role. And Jack Black voices the robot Claptrap, which it's kind of the you know, humorous aspect of the video games, and that's translated to the screen. It's a little overkill for me on the Jack Black lines. I think a little bit would have gone further, you know, rather than having him do a routine or a punchline every, you know, 35 seconds. But look, let's get to the obvious negatives, okay? I can see why certain people maybe are dismissing this because it's not very original. We've seen this same type of story in, you know, everything from Star Wars and the 40 years that followed. So there's nothing inherently new here about the story. You know, is it too heavily reliant on CGI? Maybe, but what else do you expect with a movie like this? You know, yeah, so are all the recent Marvel movies, other than, you know, yeah, Deadpool had a lot of CGI too, but, you know, it was more cleverly, you know, intertwined. I'm thinking of things like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, or the Marvels. You know, some of that stuff, just the CGI is overwhelming. It was okay here. You know, yeah, there was a lot of CGI. It's, you know, an action movie on space in 2024. So, no kidding, there's a lot of CGI. I don't think it's necessarily horrible CGI. I've seen way worse. The acting is okay. You know, I was thinking, as I was watching Kevin Hart kind of, you know, blow people up and all of this, I thought, you know, I'm sure Kevin Hart really wants to be an action star, and I feel like the only way to do that is through a video game. because you can be anything you want to be, right, in a video game. So you can be a short guy like Kevin Hart and maybe not that jacked up. And then I thought, well, Jumanji was kind of an adventure action movie too, but that's a video game too in that universe. So that all kind of makes sense to me. But I thought he did a good job. Cate Blanchett, look, she was my pick to win Best Actress of the Year a couple of years ago with her Tar movie, the same year that Jamie Lee Curtis did win for Everything Everywhere All at Once for the supporting category. So, two people that maybe deserved Oscars that year in this movie. Cate Blanchett, I think, is not given us yet a false performance. She puts her heart and soul into everything. And we've seen her do now every genre. Usually she does kind of the more hard-hitting drama stuff, but we've certainly seen her do comedy over the years, and I'm sure there's been other action movies I'm not thinking about, that she's been in, but I thought she did fine here. She clearly is embodying the character. She's going all in on this role, so okay, I'll give that to her. The weak link in the cast is Ariana Greenblatt, and it's not necessarily her fault. I think she is written to be a super, super annoying kid, and she is. So, okay. I mean, look, she was good in the Barbie movie. She was also kind of irritating there, right? But again, the way the character was written until her arc. And she's done other things over the years. A lot of voice work, too. She was part of that Scooby-Doo movie they did a few years ago. I was just looking her up to see where I knew her from. I couldn't even remember that I saw her in Barbie, which maybe tells you about her character, because I just rewatched Barbie like 3 weeks ago. But she's, the weak link in the acting department. But again, I think that's the way her character was written. And then the Pandora of it all, I had to look this up because I was wondering what came first, the Borderlands video game or the first Avatar movie, because obviously they're on Pandora in the Avatar movie. They both came out in 2009. However, I'm sure Avatar was in the works way longer. I know it took James Cameron a long, long time to make that movie. Okay, but the fact that it was also called Pandora and this was a little annoying, but whatever. It is what it is. There's a lot of things called Pandora. You have the bracelets. Pandora's box obviously is a classic, myth or whatever. But look, overall, this is an okay movie. It's certainly not great, but to have this be one of the worst reviewed movies of the year under things like Madam Web is ridiculous. It is fine. It is a PG-13 action movie based on a video game. I think it checked a lot of the boxes that it needed to. Jack Black certainly lent some humor to it. Again, I think his character was maybe a little too wordy in some of these scenes. You could just let him breathe and not be, overly, doing bits every time. And all right, I get that's the character too. Maybe designed to be a little bit annoying, but certainly I think he did a good job with that voice role. Look, the movie's okay. It's completely a fine movie. It's not a great movie, no. But I think the thrashing is a little ridiculous. And I never played the game, so look, maybe there's stuff in there that gamers won't like, or, oh, they changed this or whatever. But look, I guarantee that 80 or 90% of the critics on Rotten Tomatoes that watch this movie did not play the games either. And they hate it too. So I don't know. I think it's right in the middle for me. I leave Borderlands with a C. It is a completely fine film. Or average film, if you want to say. But 6%, I think that's, a bit cutting. All right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It. I'll see you next time.